Hello everyone, in this video we are looking at Micron's last 5 years of performance based on financial statements from 2020 to 2024. If you are a visual person like me and you don't like to look just at numbers, then this video is for you. This is just an overview of Micron's past financial performance. You will need to analyze further on certain points which will be stated but not covered in this video. Micron is down about 30 to 35% from its peak in June 2024, when it was trading around $153 per share. I started diving deeper into its financial statements when the stock was around $88 per share in December 2024. If you look at the revenue chart, Micron's revenue has been growing consistently every year, except for 2023. However, it's back up in 2024. We'll need to revisit this in 2025 to see if revenue continues to grow or stabilizes in the $25 to $30 billion range. Micron has 4 business units: CNBU, MBU, EBU, and SBU. The definition for the different units is shown in this screen. Please pause the video to understand the product types in each business unit. Let's look at the financial performance of the first business unit on this screen, CNBU. The chart pattern for CNBU revenue is almost similar to the overall revenue chart with growth every year except for 2023. Operating income is similar to revenue, but it had an operating loss of about $600 million in 2023. Operating margin has also taken a substantial hit from 7.73% to negative 0.77%, and it is still not back up to 2021 or 2022 levels. In the MBU unit, revenue and operating income plateaued at 7.2 and 2.2 billion, respectively. Although financial performance improved in 2024 compared to 2023, the operating margin still lags behind the levels seen in 2022. In the EBU unit, revenue and revenue growth has been consistent except for 2023, but the decline in 2023 is not as much when compared to other units. In fact, EBU is the only unit which showed operating profit in 2023. However, it is also the only unit where the operating income and margin declined again by 50% in 2024. In the SBU unit, it's the only segment where revenue has caught up to 2022 levels. Interestingly, it also didn't experience a revenue decline in 2020 during COVID. However, despite the rebound in revenue, the unit is still facing an operating loss of $362 million in 2024. I think the operating margin in this unit is quite slim, as margins were also low between 2020 and 2022. I see that 2023 wasn't a great year for Micron. Both the MBU and SBU recorded the highest operating losses that year. Looking at all these charts, it's difficult to fully assess the performance of each business unit with just this data. If you're interested in this company, I'd recommend researching each business unit in more detail. Micron has revenue data from 7 different regions. We will look at the revenue data from all the regions in the next few slides. More than 70% of revenue comes from the United States and Taiwan. I believe we will see a negative growth in most regions for the year 2023. When you look at the US chart, there is nothing new when compared to the overall revenue chart. For Taiwan, the first thing I notice is their revenue growth during COVID, and they also have a slight decline in 2022. In China, the revenue decline in 2020 was expected due to COVID, but it has been slowly recovering. The decline in 2023 for China and Hong Kong was similar to other markets. Interestingly, in 2021, Hong Kong's revenue was slightly higher than all of mainland China put together. This could have been due to post-COVID rebound growth, but you will need to do more research to confirm that. Revenue has bounced back in 2024 after declining over the past 2 years. In other Asian markets, Japan had 2 strong years in 2020 and 2021, with revenue stabilizing in 2022. However, it's the only market that also saw a decline in 2024. Meanwhile, revenue in other Asia-Pacific countries has remained between 1.2 and 1.4 billion over the past 5 years. For all other countries, although the revenue size is smaller than all the other markets, I think it is also where Micron has a lot of potential to show consistent growth. For example, with a 20% revenue increase from 2024, these markets could surpass Hong Kong or Japan within a year or two. After reviewing all the regions, here are a few key points that need further research. After the decline in 2023, most regions have returned to 2021 or 2022 levels. The question is whether they will continue growing or stabilize at 2024 levels. If some regions stabilize, which other regions will drive future revenue growth? And finally, will those growth regions be strong enough to drive overall revenue growth? Now let's shift back to the financial statements, starting with gross profit. The first thing that stands out is that gross profit in 2024 is less than half of what it was in 2022. Similarly, the gross margin, which was a strong 45% in 2022, has also been cut in half in 2024. Interestingly, the cost of goods sold remained stable between 2021 and 2023. This could suggest that products were either overproduced or sold at lower prices, given that costs stayed the same over these 3 years. However, in 2024, despite revenue being lower than in 2022, the cost of goods sold actually increased, something that definitely requires further research. With all this in mind, what could be a reasonable future benchmark for gross margin? That's something we'll need to track with next year's performance. Net income took major hits in both 2020 and 2023. While it has rebounded in 2024, it's still nowhere near the levels seen in 2021 and 2022. Net margin also doesn't look great. After reaching an impressive 21% to 28% in 2021 and 2022, it has dropped to just 3% in 2024. Because of the past 2 years' performance, growth has stalled. I believe the company focused more on stabilizing net income in 2024. We will need to see if the net margin will improve in 2025 or stabilize at 3%. It's important to keep an eye on free cash flow, as it shows how much money a company has available in its financial cycle to invest in other initiatives. Personally, I prefer companies where free cash flow is slightly higher than net income. For Micron, free cash flow has been all over the place. One thing that stood out to me is that even though net income increased significantly between 2021 and 2022, free cash flow didn't grow consistently during those years, something that definitely requires further research. The average yearly growth rate of free cash flow over the last 5 years is also skewed due to a massive 2,800% increase in 2021. Since this is a key metric in stock valuation models like discounted cash flow, I'd recommend using a more conservative range based on your own assumptions. Cash flow from operations in 2024 is back up to 2020 levels, which is a positive sign for the business. The cash raised from investing activities is most likely being used to enhance production capabilities, but you would need to research further into the reported capital expenditures. Looking at the total debt chart, it's clear that due to a $6 billion net income loss in 2023, the company had to raise total debt by the same amount. Other than that, debt levels have remained consistent. However, a key question is why Micron didn't reduce its debt in 2021 and 2022, which were financially strong years. When cash flow from financing activities is negative, it usually means the company is using cash to pay off debt, repurchase stock, or pay dividends. When it's positive, it typically indicates they're raising money to cover shortfalls, either by selling stock or taking on loans. Since total debt increased in 2023, it's likely that the company financed it through loans. Cash from financing was negative in all years except for 2023. Further research is needed to determine exactly how this money was used. Debt levels remained nearly the same, shares outstanding were stable, and a portion of the money, typically around $500 million, went toward dividend payments. So the key question is, where did the rest of the money go? Shares outstanding were at the same level for the last 5 years except for 2022. The 0.5 to 1% increase in shares outstanding in the last 5 years were negated by the shares repurchased in 2022. To conclude, here is the final summary on Micron. Please note that this sheet reflects only the range of past performances and does not predict future outcomes. These ranges don't account for any future business plans or strategies where the company might anticipate higher or lower growth compared to its past performance. I will not be doing stock model calculations for Micron based on the past performances since the ranges are too wide to use in stock model calculations. Please use your own ranges to estimate the value of the stock using your preferred stock model calculation. Thank you for watching this video.